Where are you going?
I was gonna go home.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because you stink!
What?
Rocky candy, all the colors, planet happy.
Last week I made a video on how the tide is starting to change for the Powerpuff Girls fans. The network had been promoting the 2016 girls since they premiered, but after the original Powerpuff Girls had their 25th anniversary last year, things seem to be circling back to how they were before. The original girls are receiving all the attention now, and that's great. But there's another set of fingerless super-powered children who hasn't received any attention from the network since their debut. And this year marks their 20th anniversary, which means there is no better time to campaign for them to come back than now.
I go to the mini-mart, I see this. Does anyone ask Mojo's permission? No. Does Mojo make any money? No. Powerpuff Girls take everything!
Calm down.
We'll see how calm you are when I destroy the world.
So if you're someone who doesn't know about the Powerpunk Girls, or just didn't know that they were anything more than fan art, allow me to introduce you. The Powerpunk Girls are an evil version of the girls that were created by Oppressor Utonium in an attempt to destroy the world. With both the Professor and the Powerpuff Girls being villains in this universe, that leaves only one option to be the city's savior. Mojo Jojo. Pretty much taking everything from the original show and doing the exact opposite. Now I know what you're thinking, this all sounds like some type of Wattpad fanfiction, but nope. This was an original idea coming from Craig McCracken himself. It was originally planned to be a full episode of the original Powerpuff Girls series until the Powerpuff Girls movie failed to make any money, and put a dent in Cartoon Network's beliefs in the Powerpuff Girls as a brand. Which I know is really hard to believe because of how much we love these test tube children.
I love kids, Charlie! I love kids!
Tim, I would really not be screaming that at the top of your lungs.
But in light of the movie's failures, the network was left with no choice but to pull the budget for certain Powerpuff Girls episodes, and this just happened to be one of the victims of that. But just because the episode was cancelled, that didn't mean Craig was done with the idea. There was just too much potential for this story, so instead of getting an episode, they settled on making this the 50th issue comic special, which I can't seem to find anywhere. Please, I want it so freaking bad, man. The idea of evil Powerpuff Girls seemed to be something that massively interested fans because they fell in love with this idea. But while it was popular with fans of the girls and videos made about them had millions of views, we'd only ever get to see these girls once, as the comic would end on a massive cliffhanger. The Powerpuff Girls and the Powerpunk Girls would end up switching places and falling into each other's universes. And before I get into even more spoilers, for those who haven't read it already, I did make a whole video on this where I pretty much just read the comic out for you, so if you want to know what happens in that story for detail by detail, just go check that video out and then come back here. But anyways, spoilers going forward. A magical mirror ends up swapping our girls from the Powerpuff Girls universe to their universe, and vice versa. So obviously the Powerpunk Girls caused havoc and attempted to destroy Townsville, and the Powerpuff Girls were captured by Mojo Jojo, who's a good guy in that universe, until they could convince him that they were not the girls that he knew. After successfully convincing him, he got his top scientist Fuzzy Lumpkins to help him create another mirror that could send the girls back home and put an end to the Powerpunk Girls. But upon returning to their world, the city of Townsville was in ruins, and the Powerpunk Girls were way too strong for them. So instead of stopping the punks, they just sent them back to cause more chaos in their own universe. And we never got to see the repercussions of what happened with that, because after that happens, the comic ends. Now admittedly I left out a lot of details and skipped parts of the story, but the point is we never got to see what happened after that. The girls just sent the punks back to destroy their own world, and the city of Townsville now thinks that our girls are criminals. And I'm sure if this would have been an actual episode, then we would have gotten to see a lot more detail and a lot more of the aftermath that would have came. But as of right now, this is where we are. Riddled with a lot of questions and dark implications from the Powerpunk universe. Like, for what purpose were the punks made? Why does their creator Oppressor Utonium want to kill them? If Professor Utonium created Mojo in our universe, did Oppressor create him in the punks universe? And if so, why isn't he evil? Did Mojo create the rowdy rough boys in their world? Is their version of Mojo Jojo meeting the original girls the thing that inspires him to create what he would consider the Rowdy Right Boys? I have no clue, but these are all questions that I would love to be answered. And there is no better time to campaign for that to happen than right now. The Powerpuff Girls are back in full force, merch is everywhere, the hype is huge, fans cannot wait for the reboot. So isn't this the perfect time to campaign for these 3 little gremlins to come back? I mean, I'm not even sure if Craig would be up for it. I doubt he's even thought of the Powerpunk Girls in years, but it wouldn't hurt to try and get his attention. I want to propose that we campaign for the Powerpunk Girls for their 20th anniversary, with the hashtags Powerpunk Girls and hashtag Make the Powerpunk Girls on Twitter on July 1st, which is their 20th year anniversary, and try our very best to get Craig's attention. I know it's a long shot, but even if it doesn't work, at the very least we'd be sharing these girls with people who haven't heard of them yet. And who knows, we could possibly even get the punks to have their own skin in the Multiversus video game, which has already been confirmed to have the original Powerpuff Girls come back with their original voice actresses come back. So if you're like me and the tons of other Powerpuff Girls fans who'd be interested in seeing this story play out, let's try to tell Craig on July 1st and see exactly what happens. And if by some miracle that this works, I vote for Avril Lavigne to be voicing the Powerpunk Bubbles. Absolutely, that's all I got to say. Good night, everybody.
This is a Mojo Jojo, super genius and archenemy of the Powerpuff Girls. I am here to tell you, which is to command you, not to get the new Powerpuff Girls video game for PlayStation. You humans stink and will never defeat me, so why even try? Sure, you get to be the Powerpuff Girls with the lasers and the punching and all that, but what's the point? You're all doomed. But if you want to experience my genius, then you can get the new Powerpuff Girls video games for PlayStation. But remember, you stink ready for everyone.